There we go. Welcome everybody to our webinar on timesheets and SharePoint. My name is Will Cooper, and we'll just do some high-level stuff before we jump into the main presentation. Although you guys are on mute, we do want your feedback and we do want to interact with you. The way you can do that during our presentation is to use the Q&A tool in your Teams meeting controls. And if I don't get your question right away, I promise I will before the end. So that's how you can ask questions. My name is Will Cooper. I am a SharePoint Solutions developer. I do lots of things in the Microsoft space. I have a YouTube channel called SharePoint Smart, and I like to post all kinds of interesting information on SharePoint, training and tutorials and things like that. And also I have my own SharePoint tool I provide called SharePoint Dashboards. So those are a couple of things I do in addition to working with Infowise. Our team is about making things simple and easy, and also about improving. We always want to add new features and make our tools better, so we're doing that all the time. This is a full SharePoint solution toolkit that you can use 100% in your SharePoint interface, and you do not have to do any programming to use our tools. There's no coding required. I am recording the presentation. I will post this recording on YouTube later today. Also, the template that I show you today will be available for you to download for free. I'll talk more about that later, but everything you're going to see me demonstrating, you can actually try this yourself in your own SharePoint environment. These tools are available both for SharePoint Online and also for on-premise SharePoint. So if you are still using on-premise SharePoint, you can use our tools there as well. I'm going to be demonstrating using SharePoint Online today. So this is how I tend to think of out-of-the-box SharePoint. SharePoint doesn't give you everything you need to build a solution, especially not something like a timesheet solution. It's going to be missing things that you need, and that's really where Ultimate Forms comes in. It fills in the gaps. So this is the way that I think about Ultimate Forms in comparison to out-of-the-box SharePoint. It's going to bring all those extra tools so you can do exactly what you want to do. All right, let's talk specifically about timesheets. And before we get into SharePoint, let's talk about what are the things that we really want to make sure our timesheet solution includes so that we have a good user experience and we meet all of our requirements. So first of all, we want to have a personalized dashboard. We've got different users and we want to make sure that we have the information specific to the person who's logged in. Certainly, we're going to have a repeating table when you think about a timesheet. So you have a timesheet and you've got your header information, such as the name of the employee and the start and end dates and things like that. And then you're going to have a table of time entries for the week. So it needs to handle that kind of functionality. We need to have timesheets automatically generated. Many times in SharePoint with the list, you would go in and just add a new record. But in this case, we need to make sure that's automated. We want to make sure those timesheets are set up and ready to go for all of our employees automatically. We're certainly going to need emails as a part of this solution because we need to send reminders to tell people that they need to submit their timesheet. We want to make sure they know when they're available, and we'd like to know when they get submitted. We're going to need reporting. So, of course, we're doing an accounting of hours, and we want to know the totals. So there are the totals that are for an individual timesheet, but then you've got roll-up totals where you want to do some reporting. Maybe, for example, I want to know what's the total amount of vacation hours that was used for an employee for the year. It needs to be able to handle that type of function. We want key progress indicators. So we're looking for visual data. We want an engaging dashboard where it's easy to understand what's going on. It's really easy to see the dates, who it is, how many hours, and the status of the timesheet, whether or not it's been turned in. So those indicators are important. We're going to need output. Once that timesheet is done and everything's entered, we need to finalize that. And one way we can do that is to output that to a PDF and keep that in a library or send out an email. And we want to make sure that's part of the solution. We want to have baked in instructions. We want to have information that tells our employees exactly what they're supposed to do right in the timesheet form. We don't want to have some separate document giving them instructions. We want to make it really easy and give them the instructions right in the timesheet where they're entering it. So pop-up help would be a key feature. We want to see those different totals by category. So when we think about entering time, typically we're thinking about some factors such as whether this is regular hours or maybe it's OT hours. We have things like paid leave, or someone may be sick, or it could be personal leave, things like that. We want to have the ability to categorize hours entered based on those key factors. And overall, this is very important. We need to have a simple and easy to understand interface. So we want to strike a balance between providing all of that key functionality, but also having a system that's intuitive and very simple to use, so that we're not confusing our users. All right, so here we are in SharePoint Online, and we're going to walk through and look at this first from a user perspective. And then after I show you how that interface works, we're going to go behind the curtains, and I'm going to show you how this form is configured and how you can make adjustments on how the system would work. So here's my main dashboard, and I'd like to begin by just creating a new timesheet. So you can see these are grouped by the week. So we've got 4 timesheets in here for this week, running December 8th through December 14th. And right away, you can see this looks nothing at all like a plain vanilla SharePoint list. We've got some custom formatting and KPI indicators built into this so that we have an attractive interface that people are going to like to use. So I'm going to make a new timesheet. The first thing you should notice is it defaulted by name and automatically. I didn't have to enter that. So we want to do streamlining to make things easy. And I'll just make another duplicate timesheet. I already had a timesheet for myself for this week, but we're going to do a Sunday through Saturday. The start and end could be however you want it to be configured. Notice that the header is dynamic and automatically fills in with that key information about the timesheet. So these forms are dynamic. They change according to information I'm putting in real time. Okay, so I'll just save that just to get the ball rolling, and we'll see a second timesheet show up for me. There it is at the bottom. Let me do a refresh and see if I can make it come to the top. Okay, there we go. So this is the one I just entered, and we'll get to the time entries part. And I want you to see how easy this is to interact with. If I hover over this information bubble, notice I have detailed instructions. It tells me exactly what I want to do. This is important because if your workers don't know how to use this at first, you can tell them, just hover over those information bubbles and you can type in any instructions that they need. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a time entry for Monday. And we're just going to keep it simple to start. This is going to be 10 regular hours. I can type in whatever description I need. And notice that it's an inline entry. Also notice that my timesheet summary information updated automatically. We've got a progress bar that's filling up. And then we've got some totals at the bottom, which show totals by different categories. Let's go ahead and do another one. Let's just say on Tuesday, I spent that day training. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the 10th. That was 8 hours of training. And I can just hit the plus. And immediately, real time, I'm seeing updates in this interface. I'm seeing my bar fill up, showing the total hours accumulated for the week. And then on the bottom, you're seeing totals that are according to different categories. So let me go ahead and save out of there. And then also on the dashboard, you're going to notice that this progress bar is filling up. And in fact, even changing color depending on how many hours they're in. So your employees could use this throughout the week to update their hours, make entries whenever they want. From this dashboard view, I can also click on this time entries. And if I click for details, I can expand that out and access that directly from the dashboard. So that might be good if I want to take a peek at things without actually having to go directly into the form. Now, once all the hours are filled out at the end of the week, naturally, we need to allow for them to submit their timesheet, and that's easy to do, luckily. So if I click this green status update button, I can update and say I'm ready to submit. I'll click that button and immediately that changes it to a submitted status. So that will finalize my timesheet. And now it's easy to tell which workers have completed their timesheet for the week and which ones we're still waiting on. There's some other functionality built into this form as well. Once that timesheet's finalized, naturally we'd like to have that output as a PDF. That's a function that we built directly into the form. So if I click on this button, it will kick off an action which will actually output this to a PDF, which is useful because we know that's not going to change. If I go to my timesheets PDF library, we can take a peek at that output that it just did. There we go, weekly timesheet for Will Cooper, December 8th through December 14th. There's my line item entries, along with summary totals for my hours, and it even records the date timestamp when I submitted this. So now we've got that for record keeping in case there's any questions that might come up later. Alternatively, maybe I want to email that timesheet to somebody. We also have a button built into the form to do that for us. So if I just click PDF to email, I can put in an email address. This is fictional. I don't know who Mike Brown at Microsoft.com will go to. Probably nobody, but just demonstrating the functionality. So that'll save out. It'll send that same PDF, but instead of sending it to the library, it would just send it directly out to an email. So very easy to work with that. Now, this is a summary view, but we have some other views that are important as well. Now, maybe I'm the HR administrator and I want to make timesheets automatically. I've got my list of all my employees here, and I can just go to the employees list, select all those records, come up to my command bar, click on Run Actions, and I've built a function which makes my timesheets for me. Now, I need to know a couple of things to make those timesheets. It wants to know what week I'm doing that for. And let's go ahead and make timesheets for the week of December 22 through December 28. That's all that it needs. I hit submit, and then it starts running that job right away. And it's already done. Everything is complete. I got a nice screen confirmation message. And now in batch, I created all the timesheets for all my employees just through a couple of button clicks and data entries. If I return back to the timesheets list, you're going to find that these are the new timesheets. So we would be ready to go for that week, and my employees can start working on their timesheets. Very handy. Let's start to talk about how this comes together, how it's configured in terms of the setup, so that if you want to customize and make it specific to your organization, that you have the ability to do that. If I click on the design button, this takes me into the Ultimate Forms settings screen, and we're going to take a look at Form Designer. This is the most important component in Ultimate Forms, and this is where all of the functionality you've seen was set up. This is a drag and drop style interface, and I can simply move controls around the form, and I can do things like adjust colors very easily. And what you see is what you get. If I want to put a light blue background color, I just select that color, and when I'm ready, I can click publish. I don't want to publish that change, but I wanted you to see how that works. And then I can set up things like these custom buttons to update information in the form. In this case, I wanted this button to change the status and update the information on when it was submitted. And then at the bottom, I've got my summary information. You can see that I was able to do a multi-column layout. So I can get a table style layout to make my grid look nice. Form Designer's really easy to use. You don't have to do any coding or anything like that. And then I can put in rules that are very simple to understand. For example, in the employee field, I wanted that to default to the current user. And I was able to do that by simply adding a rule and saying, dynamic, I want this to default to current user. Go ahead and do that for me automatically on the new form. And that's exactly what it did, as you saw earlier. Also, I wanted to show some extra information. You might have noticed that it automatically showed the weekday. That might be handy just to make sure we are in fact doing Sunday through Saturday. And in order to do that, I just had to add this fragment and added a rule there with this weekday function. So that way there's a little label that appears right under the date just to make sure people know, okay, you're doing Sunday through Saturday. And that's all there is to it. I can add to and customize this form however I want. And then we have our progress bar here showing the totals. Let's talk about email notifications. Email notifications are going to be a part about just about any form solution that you're going to build in SharePoint. And without extra tools, this is a hassle. You'd have to do it with some external workflow system. It's time consuming and not easy to manage, especially when there's multiple rules. In the case of these tools, it's very simple to set up. I've got a couple here from my timesheets list. I just went into email alerts and we'll walk through it real quick. When a new item is added, when those timesheets are created, I want to go ahead and email the employee. And I send them the simple reminder. It just says your weekly timesheets are ready to use. I can format this however I want with this visual editor tool. And it'll just send a nice friendly email, hello, and the name of the employee. And it gives them a link directly to their own timesheet. So without them even having to go to the dashboard, they'll just be able to click the link and just jump right into their timesheet. As we all know, people sometimes don't turn in their timesheets on time and they're going to need a little nudge, or maybe they're going to need a lot of nudges. So we need a way to remind them when it comes time for those being due. So here's a reminder email also going to the employee. And this is going to be according to that end date. So this is the end of the week and I can configure information based on that. So in this case, they say 12 hours after that date. And then also keep repeating this as long as this condition is enforced. Status is equal to draft. I'm checking to see whether status changed to submitted. So as long as it's still draft, I want to keep poking at them until they submit. And then in this case, I want to highlight this in pink because I need to get their attention. Hey, your timesheet's due. Once again, I want to link to their timesheet. And that's all there is to it. And I can keep adding email rules, and all of those are going to be managed directly in SharePoint. Once again, I don't have to go out to some other tool to set that up. How about the PDF functionality? How does that come together? Very easy to set up. I'll show you what this looks like with a Word document. This is what I loaded to do my timesheets template. This is what I created. You don't have to do anything special other than just reference the fields in square brackets. And this is all that I needed to do to create the timesheets template. Once I had that ready to go, I can just go into our print template system and simply come in here and upload that. There it is. And that creates our timesheet template that will output to PDF. The automation is controlled through actions. Actions are an easier alternative to traditional SharePoint workflow. So I have a couple of PDF actions. Those are specific to Ultimate Forms. And this is how I connected those buttons up to make sure they do what I want them to do. So I have an action, and this just tells it specifically what should happen. I tell it which print template I want output to PDF, go to document library, and I select the timesheets PDF library, and then I did some custom formatting to have a nice name for my PDF, and that's how that's set up. So I have two of those. One's for the email, and in the case of the email, I just told it that I wanted to go to an email target instead of a document library. So that's how the automation was controlled for those two actions. So you can control the form and the actions and emails all on your own without having to do programming. You can control it all through the settings interface. I should mention this solution is going to be available for you to try for free. You can download it. You do need to install our trial software first, which is our entire software. It'll run for 30 days. That's at the Infowise site. If you click try now for free and then install, you'll be able to get it that way. And once you've done that, that'll open this door and you can go to our solution catalog, click on webinars, and this solution is going to show as the very first tile later today in here. This will say weekly timesheets. You can click on it and you can install it down to an empty SharePoint site and you can play around with everything I'm showing. Let me return back to my SharePoint site. So also we need personalized views. So if I just care about my own timesheets, we're going to want to have a link to that. So that's easy to set up. I have a My Timesheets view, and you can see all the timesheets which are just for me. It's just using a filter, so you can point your users directly to their own timesheets and not have them having to see everyone in the organization's timesheets. Another very important one would be totals. So over time, you have your timesheets, you have your employees putting in timesheets every week. And so you're going to need to be doing totals to check how many vacation hours have they used, how many hours have been sick, so on and so forth, and also to check for OT hours. So this is where this is going to be handy. So this is grouping by employee, and then you're going to have summary totals at the bottom. So you've got that view as well. So those are the main features of this timesheet system. This is very adaptable. You can take this functionality and adjust it and incorporate whichever features you need. So this would be a good starting point. And some of the formatting does come from my own tool, which is SharePoint Dashboards, but it will be included in this template, which you can download. But after I take questions from you guys, we're going to pivot, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about SharePoint Dashboards. Let me go to the Q&A interface. If you guys have any questions about this, I would like you to post it in the Q&A section, and I'm going to do my very best to help you out. And even when I move on to this next part of the presentation, please continue to ask me questions about timesheets or anything related to Ultimate Forms. I'll be very happy to answer. All right, well, let's keep moving. So some of this formatting templates did come from SharePoint Dashboards. What is SharePoint Dashboards? This is a formatting tool that allows you to do custom formatting of your list views in SharePoint to make them look nicer. Okay, I got a question about timesheets. Can time be entered from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. versus hours? It could be possible. You would just change that template to put start and end and that type of thing. So this is very adaptable to different situations. The timesheet I created doesn't work in that way, but that's certainly a possibility. Thank you for your question, Cynthia. All right, I'm going to keep on going. Okay, so these are templates that you can apply to columns or views in SharePoint. It's a way to make things look nice. It also allows you to do things like add buttons, like the edit button that you saw, which will open the form. These are very easy to use. You can just click into one of these templates and adjust the colors, and you'll see exactly what it's going to look like before you use it. And then you can just copy and paste that over to your own SharePoint environment. This tool does not require you to do any installation at all. There's no app. I know some people are concerned about that. You just copy and paste the templates. If you get this tool, you can do it that way. In order to start using SharePoint Dashboards, you can actually get 21 templates free. You just can go to the Get Started, and if you click on Free, that'll give you access to 21 templates. The full toolkit is 222 templates, so a lot of options for you if you do sign up for the subscription. So a good way to approach this is to begin and try out these free templates, all of which are very handy and very useful. In fact, the edit button template's the one I use more than any other template. You can begin there, and if you like it and you're ready to go on and take advantage of all the options that are here, you can sign up for a monthly subscription and try that out. It does include support, and each template also includes a video which will show you exactly how to use it. So if I go down to the instructions, if you click on video tutorial, that'll open a video and it'll show that specific template being applied in SharePoint. So you can just follow those instructions and work with it like that. Do you guys have any other questions about the weekly timesheets, Ultimate Forms, or SharePoint dashboards? All right, well, I am going to stop our recording, but I will stay on our session to answer questions if you have any.